So, my biggest lot in life was never a brain disease diagnosis. My biggest lot in life has always been my mother. Since I was at least 9 years old, my mom has been my biggest op, my biggest bully, a manipulator, a dishonest person, and just a very negative energy always directed at me. And what's crazy about it is as I'm healing myself as I get older, it just sucks because it was always all done in secret. And growing up, I stopped talking about it because folks wouldn't even believe me. Like, my parents were going through a divorce after being married about 20 years. And even my best friend at the time would be like, "Oh, you're just saying that because you want to go to your dad's." And I'd be like, "Yes, definitely want to go to my dad's." And no, things aren't as they seem. And it's nuts because I know that folks that really know my mom, like everyone around her for real, knows that she's mentally unstable. Like, absolutely mentally unstable. And as I've healed and stuff, I'm just like, dang, I would look back like, why didn't nobody save me as a kid, like back then, knowing her mental state and her need for vengeance and things on my dad. And honestly, knowing her personality type and how she can be, it's easier to just walk away. Like, it doesn't, if you're going back and forth with her, it's never going to end. She's never going to be wrong, ever. Ever. It doesn't matter. So it's easier to walk away, but I used to have a deeply rooted pain in my heart for the adults that I would try to talk to about it. And then they would say stuff like, "Oh, you're disrespectful to your mom," and da da da. And like, yeah, I was a kid. I was probably like 10 to 12 years old around this time. I was definitely a kid, and I definitely was disrespectful at times. And what people weren't seeing is that, when you're manipulating a person and you have no job, and so all you have to do is just wallow in your misery all day, people can exquisitely set up situations to get people triggered in certain situations. So yeah, I definitely would be triggered often on purpose around the right people, and like, it was just horrible having no one believe me. So like I said, my best friend back then didn't even believe me until one day, my mom showed up at her house on a different kind of vibe, and interventions had to be called, you know? So just living in that line of secret for so long it's just been a lot. And I thank God that I haven't found a partner yet and that I haven't had children just yet, because there's just such this big part of myself that I needed to heal first. Things I've learned from my mom, my last therapist asked me, and I sat with it for like a week and I couldn't think of much. And number one is definitely style. I mean, she's a beautiful person on the outside. She taught me penmanship. I mean, I can forge signatures really well. I don't know when that would like be necessary. She's very stylish, but I mean, above all else, my mom has taught me the kind of mom that I will never, ever, ever be to my kids. I will never make my daughter feel less than. I will especially never do it in secret. I will never make her my punching bag or make her a scapegoat. If I'm doing some stuff, but then I make it seem like it was her to multiple people. I would never be so hurt by a relationship that I'm telling family members that my daughter's sleeping with her dad. Just stuff like that. It's just wild. I would never have my daughter leave her high school graduation crying because of me. I would never have her leave her college graduation crying because of me, or multiple events that she put on because of me, and because of things that were done in the dark that people don't know about. And it's just nuts because all of this is just so deeply rooted in this part of my mom that has to be seen as someone that she's not. She used to tell people like, "Oh, our family used to be like the Cosbys." Well, girl, like, have you seen what's happening to Bill? You know what I'm saying? Like, the good thing at the end of the day is that good always wins, and what's done in the dark will always come to light. Any kind of fraudulent activities, any kind of dishonesty, using people, manipulation, like all of that will come to light. There's so many times where I've been just like humiliated. Like I'll tell her a secret and she'll go tell 50 other people when I'm trying to build a bond with her and build trust and start all over and all these things, all to just be put on a pedestal. She'll be making fun of what I'm wearing, what I'm saying, what I'm doing, who I'm hanging with. Nothing was ever good enough. And I just stopped talking about it, like I said, because people weren't believing me, and then I would just shut down. And for the longest, I'm like, okay, maybe I am really the problem. Maybe it really is me, you know? And, you know, I will hold myself accountable. You know, there's two sides of every story, and then there's the truth. But at the end of the day, one story, for example, my mom swears up and down to everybody that when I was like, 10, 11 years old, that I was a mastermind that plotted to have her put in jail, although she knew she violated a restraining order that she knew she had. She said that I faked sick to get her somewhere so that she would get locked up. That's just like literally simply not true. And if people knew the real living conditions that we were in, her and I, or the living conditions that even she's been in, none of it matches the things that are being portrayed. And I'm tired of being the secret keeper. I'm tired of being all of that. I'm tired of protecting everybody. I normally say stuff like, hey, I'm going to love you from afar, but I'm praying for you. But the prayers are done. I'm going to be redirecting all that energy and all that protection back into myself to love myself. I remember calling her when I started my menstrual when I was younger, and she's like, call one of your daddy's bees, and hung up in my face. And like a few years back, I had even checked myself into a mental health facility for, you know, ideation. I had a very detailed plan that I was going to act on, and that is one of many times in the past where God has saved me, because I just felt like nothing. She would tell me I was nothing. She's called me everything outside of my government name. And people looking from the outside in would never, ever know this, ever. So that's another thing I was going to say that she's taught me as well. I don't look like what I've been through. I can be going through all kinds of abuse and pain and just all kinds of intolerable, inhumane kinds of things and still show up. I can still show up and do whatever. Like none of that is even going on. So I truly thank her for that. And I thank all the people that left me, dang near, like left me with her misery, where I had to fend for myself, because without all those people, I wouldn't be who I am today. Without my mom using the Bible against me, I wouldn't have spent years getting in that word and being in that word so much that I led a woman's Bible study for over 2 years. Without my mom criticizing me to think that I'm a failure when I fail, I wouldn't have worked so hard for all the things that I have achieved. And you know, so I definitely have her to thank for that. But everything that glitters ain't gold. And like I said, I'm just tired of protecting secrets. I'm tired of protecting people that were never protecting me. Like, we've been no contact now for a couple months, and this is far from the first time. In college, we went probably a year without speaking, because we were still to the point when I was in my 30s where she wouldn't even stop hanging up in my face when she didn't get her way. Like, she is beautiful on the outside, and I'll go to war if somebody else say something about my mom, but on the inside, she's dishonest, she's nasty, she's manipulative, she's a user, and like, it just is what it is. And I'm done like protecting all of that. Like, last time I saw her, she looked like more of what I see her looking like internally on the outside. It was giving struggle bus. And you know, God don't play about me. And like I said, what's done in the dark always comes to light. I've given her multiple opportunities when it's just her and I, because when this stuff would be going on, it was just her and me. It was just her and me while the divorce was going on, which was a very bad time in my life, and hers too, you know. But I said, Mom, it's just us. Like, if you can just apologize and just own up for some of the stuff that was going on, you know. And she just refuses to do it. And a couple years back, she told me, like, hey, it's my dying wish to write this book. And she told me that the book is going to be really bashing my dad and me and one of my brothers. And she's like, oh, we're finally getting a little bit closer now. Do you think this will come between us? And I'm like, well, you're my mom. I don't know what the book would say, but I would hope that, I mean, this is kind of weird. But, like, mind you, for her to write this book about my dad, myself, and my brother, my dad has been in a whole other relationship with a whole other family for going on 20 years now. And if it is your dying wish to get that kind of stuff out, it just shows the kind of energy, especially when you're not working. You have nothing but time to be messy, to stalk people, to gather, to come up with your whole story that people will believe. And the thing about God protecting me and keeping me, I don't care what the book says. I don't care what she does with the book. I told her, hey, if that's what you need to do to heal, girl, please, by all means, do it immediately, okay? But I'm a truth keeper, a secret keeper, and a hoarder of screenshots. And it would take me posting one screenshot of words that are said to me on the holidays or said about me from my mother, first person views from the mouth of the source. One thing of screenshots of how she actually talks behind closed doors about me and about other people. One screenshot of police reports of all the times that the neighbors were calling police to her house when it was me and her living together. One screenshot of the court reports, or just my journal entries from when I was a kid. Like, literally, I've just kept all this in because I don't want people to look at my mom no kind of way. But I was doing that all this time at my own expense. I didn't want her to look away, so a type of way to other people, so I would let her lie on me. I would let her do and say all these things about me, and because I didn't want her to be looked at in a kind of way. So yeah, I'm just finally coming to terms with that. Like I said, we are no contact. I have no plans on ever having contact with my mom again, and I love her. I love her so much. I already knew if I have a wedding one day, I didn't want her there, and she told me, like, oh, that's not even going to be your wedding. That's going to be my wedding. And I believe she believed that for real. And the older version of myself would have let that ride for real and let her bully me and let her just, like, just the talking down on me like I'm nothing, like, oh, that's not even your daddy, and you're this and that, calling me a B, and just all this kind of stuff, like, and it just never ended. She never worked on herself. She never held herself accountable. Like, all this stuff, even the last interactions that we had a few weeks back or a couple months, whatever that was back ago, embarrassing. Okay, embarrassing on her part. And if people really knew the kind of stuff she was saying and doing behind closed doors, so I don't even have to speak too much about this. I'm making this video because I'm really healing myself, and I feel that God is calling me to speak about this more in the future. And I still don't know what that's going to look like because, growing up in a black family, and then especially growing up in a black families in the church, this is kind of stuff that you really just don't talk about for real. So I never have just wanted to say too much about it ever. But I know God's going to be calling me to talk more about this, because more so than having a brain disease diagnosis, my biggest lot in life has been my mom. She even will be competing with me about illnesses and who's sicker and who's this and that. And, like, it's just been a lot of weight to carry. So I've been praying, I've been fasting, I am releasing all that to God. I'm thankful that everything happened because it made me who I am today. And now that I have really just healed and released that part of me, I feel like I'm finally ready to show up in the world and be a partner to someone else, be a mom. And like I said, I've learned and had a first-hand interaction for 33 years of the kind of mom that I do not want to be.